brown eyes. If you have them, you are looking at the world through the oldest eyes on Earth. Because for almost the entire story of the human race, 100,000 years of it, this was the only eye there was. Every ancestor. Every face around every fire. All the way back. All brown eyes. And it wasn't for looks. A brown iris is flooded with melanin, the same dark pigment that guards skin, and it drinks light instead of scattering it, which is exactly what a body needed under the sun where humans were born. Equatorial Africa. A sun so brutal that a dark, dense eye wasn't decoration. It was equipment. It let our ancestors track prey across a blinding savanna where a single blinded second cost a meal or a life. So brown eyes didn't just survive there. They won everywhere, carried out of Africa on every migration, onto every continent on the map. They still rule the world today. Brown eyes were the answer to one question: how do you see in too much sun? But then, our ancestors did something that had never happened before. They walked north, into a place with almost no sun at all. And up there, the answer that had worked for 100,000 years suddenly didn't. Blue eyes. In that weak northern light, something broke, beautifully. One person, born somewhere near the Black Sea maybe 8,000 years ago, carried a single tiny error in a gene that switched the brown pigment off. And here is the part that sounds impossible. It worked. Every blue-eyed person on Earth, over 500 million of them, descends from that one human. Before them, nobody alive had blue eyes. After them, blue eyes spread across the north like a crack racing across ice. Because in a place starved of sun, an eye with less pigment let more light in, and that thinner shield may have helped the body pull vitamin D from a sky that barely offered any. But strip the pigment away, and you strip the armor too. There is, in fact, no blue in a blue eye at all. No blue pigment exists. It's colorless tissue scattering light back cold, the same trick the sky plays. A trick with a cost. A blue eye burns under bright light and quietly carries a higher risk of a cancer that grows inside the eye itself. Blue eyes were the North's gift and the North's bill. And then the two worlds, the old brown South, the new blue North, began to meet. Hazel eyes. This is what happens at a border. When the deep brown of the South met the pale mutations of the North, their eyes met too, and neither side won. A hazel iris is caught mid-argument, brown crowding the pupil, green or gold bleeding toward the rim, shifting with every change of light. Its home on the map is exactly where you'd guess. The great crossroads of the ancient world, the belt where the Middle East, North Africa, and Southern Europe collided and mixed for thousands of years. Hazel eyes are the compromise those collisions left behind. Enough pigment to blunt a hard sun, enough openness to gather a soft one, and full protection from neither. But the mixing didn't stop at a compromise. In a few cold gray corners of the map, the brown kept fading until it very nearly disappeared. Green eyes. 2 people in 100. That's it, which makes green the rarest eye most people will ever actually look into. And it barely exists even then. Green eyes are an illusion stacked on an illusion. A whisper of golden pigment laid over a nearly colorless iris, gold over scattered blue, and only in that exact balance does the eye read green, a color found almost nowhere else in the entire human body. It survived in one specific place, the rain-gray, sun-starved northwest of Europe, Ireland, Scotland, Iceland, where any eye that could drink weak light was worth keeping. But an illusion this thin has nothing to protect it. The rarest color you'll ever meet is also one of the most vulnerable to the sun. That long walk north explains the whole fade, brown to hazel to green. But latitude was never the only force shaping the human eye. Because in a few scattered corners of the map, pigment wasn't fading at all. It was doing something far stranger. Amber eyes, gold. Actual gold, and for once the word is honest. This one isn't part of the great fade at all. It isn't pigment disappearing, it's a different pigment entirely. A single warm one called lipochrome, the same that burns in the eyes of wolves and eagles and hawks. It is the one human eye that looks like it belongs to a predator. And they didn't spread from a homeland the way brown or blue eyes did. It surfaced on its own, in scattered pockets across Asia, South America, and Southern Europe, wherever that warm pigment gene ran strong enough to break through. The map's proof that eye color was never only about latitude. It pays the pale eyes tax like the others, moderate pigment, moderate protection. But amber eyes were the exception. return to the far north, and the great fade reaches its very palest extreme. Gray eyes? Most people who meet a pair call them blue. They're wrong, and the truth is stranger. A gray iris holds even less pigment than a blue one, so little that the tissue in front simply scatters every wavelength of light at once, and what comes back isn't a color at all. It's silver. Gray eyes came from the coldest edge of the human map. The Baltic, Russia, the far north and east, that same low-sun corridor where the palest eyes gathered and stayed. That near-total absence of pigment can give gray eyes an edge in dim and shifting light under heavy northern skies. But it leaves them the most defenseless eyes on Earth, the most exposed to sun of any color, the rarest eye paying the highest price for its own transparency. Gray eyes are as pale as a human eye can go, pigment almost entirely gone. So now turn all the way around, to the eye with the most pigment there is. Black eyes. A truly black iris doesn't exist, but eyes so dark they erase the line between iris and pupil are very real, and they are the eye pushed to its absolute limit. This is melanin at maximum, so much pigment almost no light escapes. Where gray eyes surrendered all their armor, black eyes are nothing but armor. It comes from the places of most punishing sun on Earth, parts of Africa, South Asia, East Asia, where the strongest shield a body could build was the greatest gift it could get. A near black eye is the most protected human eye there is, hardened against glare, against burn, against the slow damage of the sun. It is Brown's ancient bargain taken as far as biology allows, total command of the sun, bought with the dark. From the palest silver to the deepest black, that is the whole spectrum of the human eye. Every color accounted for. Except one, and the last one refuses to obey any of the rules you've just learned. Heterochromia. Every color so far came from somewhere. A sun, a migration, a place on the map. This one comes from nowhere. Fewer than 1 person in 100 has it, and it isn't a color at all. It's a broken rule. One eye a different color from the other, or a single iris split clean down the middle into two. And it has no origin on the map, because it doesn't come from a place. It comes from a moment. A single moment in the womb as the eyes are forming, when the melanin meant for 2 matching eyes arrives uneven, one rich, one starving. Sometimes it's written in the genes. Sometimes it's the scar of an old injury. It offers no advantage, no protection, no purpose. It is simply the most naked proof of the secret this whole video has been building toward, that the entire difference between brown and blue, between the most common eye and the rarest, between you and the person beside you, comes down to one pigment, delivered a fraction differently. The eye was one color for 100,000 years. Everything else, every color you've just seen, is how close we all still are to that single, shared